All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us today. We really do appreciate you coming out on a Saturday morning, and this speaks volumes to who you are and what this cause means to you as well. So we do appreciate you coming out. If you would give yourself a round of applause for doing so. Thank you so much. My name is Cassandra Cadeau. I am one of the co-hosts of this event. I'm with Blended Hearts, Inc., and I am so honored to be partnering with Cindy on this movement, on this summit experience. And I'm here with maybe five of the amazing individuals that were on the screen that are joining us today. Many of them have their own sessions today that you probably already registered with, so you'll be getting to know them a little bit more intimately later on throughout the day in their private sessions. But for this morning, we're just gonna have a general panel discussion to introduce them to you and to have them speak on who they are, what they do, and to dive in on some of the questions that we have for them relating to how they are an antidote to ACEs. Does that sound like a plan? Yes, awesome. And so first, I just want to acknowledge that we have Sam at the end here. Sam, hi.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
And then we have Ketia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ketia.
Ketia. And then we have Lisette.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Sue.
Peace and blessings.
Amen. And then we have Dr. Tabitha. Thank you, Doctor.
Good morning.
Good morning. And we also have at the end, Darius.
Good morning, y'all.
Good morning. So we're going to start our panel discussion by asking each of our panelists here, when you hear the phrase being an antidote of ACEs, what does that mean to you personally or professionally? And please, before you start, please introduce yourself again and to give us a dive in on what it is that you do.
Good morning again, everyone. I think I'm just going to say good day. My name is Sam Ghanem. I'm a South Florida-based Chief Marketing Officer. I own a printing company, and we are super proud of being a sponsor of ACEs Matter and All Things Cindy. And the question was, when I hear anecdotes, what does it mean to me, either personally or professionally? And I can tell you that I have a full body response to it. I feel like when we as a human species notice a gap, a need that we have, it's our invitation to fill it. And so if you feel that there's an anecdote, a solution that's necessary, perhaps you were gifted with the vision to see that and blaze that trail to find a solution.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ketia. I'm the author of Her Silence Enslaver, and I'm also a social worker at Maitland Middle School. So what does it mean for me to be an antidote to ACEs? Personally, I would start as far like saying simply, just saying hi to someone, or giving someone a hug, or saying hi, or saying, you look beautiful today, or I love your dress, because I never know what they're going through at home. Like even for my kids, I'm always saying good morning, because I don't know if they seem like, I don't know if they had a good morning, or anyone in the home told them good morning, like, let me see your teeth, let me see all your 32 teeth, and they're laughing, smiling. So I feel like that's the simplest way to start of being an antidote of the ACEs. And then professionally, I am a school social worker. So when it becomes like professionally, I set an example for others to see. So my friends or my family know that I'm a therapist. I don't push therapy too much on them. I mention it a little bit, but when they see my life, they're like, oh wow, I love how she's moving, or I love how she's healing. They also come up to me and said, hey, I have a therapist now. I've decided to get a therapist. So just being a change maker, they're just doing small things.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Lisette Rusa. I'm the Vice President of Operations for the Mental Health Association of Central Florida. I'm also a certified nonprofit professional, and I've been in the mental health field for a little bit over 20 years now. What does it mean to me to be an antidote to ACEs? It's a personal commitment to find those tools and to always be intentional about looking at what are the necessary resources that I need to overcome adversity. On a professional level, as the Vice President of Operations for the Mental Health Association, is helping the community find those tools, is being there for them, spreading the word about mental health, and helping them find the necessary strategies to overcome adversity. Thank you.
Good morning, Isu Ma'at. I am the Chief Inclusion Officer for the Orlando Magic. And what it means to me is, raise your hand if you know the John P. Key song, You Don't Know My Story. What it means to me is that everybody in this room and everybody has a story. And at some point, to be an antidote for ACEs, it means that you arrived at the point where you were ready, right? You were ready to tell your story. You were ready to stop believing that you're the only person who has this story. You were ready to stop believing that this is only happening to you. You were ready to stop believing that there's something wrong with you. And you were ready to start believing that there's something that we can do about it. There's something that we can do about it for ourselves. And if we just walk our walk and walk in our light and in our truth, that's going to attract people to you who are also arriving at the crossroads there with you, saying, I think I'm ready as well. Every day, everybody you know is going through something you know nothing about, the saying goes. So be kind. And that's what being an antidote to ACEs is to me.
Is this on? Okay. I'm Dr. Tabitha Ostrout. I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, so glad to be here with you today. By day, I am a cancer researcher at a pharmaceutical company working on one of our oncology drugs. That keeps the lights on, but then this is what I'm really passionate about. So I've presented and published several research articles on adverse childhood experiences and the adult outcomes that are related to them. And I'll start from personally what being an antidote to ACEs means to me. I'm so glad I went after you because you had a good segue into this. I just finished a book written by Oprah called What Happened to You, and shifting the narrative from what's wrong with you to what happened to you. So like you were talking about meeting people where they are, understanding that everybody comes with something and their behavior is then related to that. I also, thinking about the antidotes to adult ACEs, but also some prevention stuff. I just got licensed to be a foster parent, so hopefully trying to stymie some of this in the beginning, so we don't have to keep doing things like this, so we can kind of cut some of that off in the beginning. And then professionally, like I said, I've published several research articles on all of the adult outcomes of adverse childhood experiences. And I have a session later today on adult nutrition with some wonderful panelists, so hopefully you'll be able to join me for that.
All right, my name is Darius. What I do is I connect businesses with nonprofits to help nonprofits find the resources they need. Sometimes it's funding, sometimes it's just manpower, and then sometimes I understand that nonprofits just need somebody to stand next to them with a big enough name and say, hey, we believe in this cause. And what the antidote means to me, I'm gonna piggyback off Isu. Did I say it right? Isu, okay, got you. You get to that point where you do understand your story is your story, and then the next step in that is you're willing to share it, because if all we're doing is showing everybody we look good and smell good, they're gonna think they can never get to that, right? So to me, I think we gotta learn to be more transparent and create those relationships.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Before we get started, I wanted to answer that same question for myself. With Blended Hearts, we work with blended families in the immediate community of our Orlando city, and what that looks like for us is any parent that is going through transition in their relationship, whether it's a separation, a divorce, starting over, uniting with another parent, bringing families together, or even the dynamics of families that lost a parent through death, incarceration, adoption, so many varieties of a blended family. And sometimes because of those traumas that we experience during those times or the moments leading up to that time, it impacts our children. And many of us as adults are going through life dealing with childhood traumas relating to these scenarios. And so my work with parents is to empower them to know that even through the pain, I help them navigate in a clear, conscious mind to be more proactive in creating a safe and healthy environment for the children involved. And what that means for me personally is, as a single mom of 3, twice divorced, I'm on the front line of doing this every single day. And so while I'm being an antidote to my own ACEs, I'm also helping those prevent or minimize the impact that it will have on their children in the future. Okay.
Let me do it. I'm gonna do it. I don't think I'll answer this. We was gonna skip it, but for me, 5 years ago, I founded this nonprofit when I realized I had ACEs, and I had a lot of them. So when you get a chance to see the billboards, or if you happen to have your brochure in front of you, there are 15 categories of adverse childhood experiences. And then there's an additional 7 categories if you were born into slavery, colonization, and all the other kind of things. So when I realized that I had left home with a lot of those adversities, everything that could happen to a kid that shouldn't happen to a kid, it happened to me, and I had worked so hard to bury it. Maybe I didn't work hard to bury it. Maybe I just acted like it didn't exist until it found me. It found me in my relationships. It found me in my job. It found me in the way I manage my finances. It found me. It found, I don't know if it just, that baggage was with me. So when I came up with the idea, when I was gifted with the idea about what does it mean to be an antidote, everybody kept looking at me saying, well, doesn't everybody have trauma? And I felt so dismissed when I would hear that. Like, well, why are we just laying down accepting that when we can do something about it? And so it didn't sit right in my heart. And I was given the vision to start ACEs Matter, and the antidote, which was delivered from some heavenly place, said connection. Connection is cure. When you connect with the right type of people, to my left and my right, you don't need to be a therapist to be therapeutic. But you know what you need? You need the space to handle everybody that got ACEs, because they're gonna come to you. And so I wanted to answer the call, and he said, write the vision, make it plain. The logistics might not be in order, but just write the vision, make it plain, and see what happens. So you all are experiencing the very first time of that heavenly assignment that was given to me. I didn't know how it was going to get done, but here we are, right? So thank y'all for being there. I believe people are the antidote. That's what I'm trying to say, if I can leave that. People are the antidote. And the last point I want to make to that, when you see your brochures or your programs, it says healing is elemental. Over 90% of our bodies are made of things from elsewhere, okay? Oxygen being the one that none of us can live without. Are you right? Am I right about that? So I'll close this out by saying, when I say healing is elemental, what are the last 2 letters in elemental? Dude, come on, we in school, come on. Say it loud. What are the last 2 letters in spiritual? What are the last 2 letters in financial? What are the last 2 letters in physical? And what are the last 2 letters in emotional? That's what I mean when I say healing is elemental. We must start with ourselves, our own ACEs, so that we can then create space to be there for, unfortunately, the 1 in 6 people that have 4 or more ACEs. So thank you.
All right. So we're going to get started with our first question, and I'm going to ask this to Dr. Tabitha. From a research perspective, what aspects of adult outcomes are impacted by early trauma?
Everything. I'll talk about the 3 that I've researched specifically. I think we know it's related to mental health at the very base level. But the first study that a colleague and I did back in 2017 was published in the HCA Journal of Health, and that one looked at your adverse childhood experiences, so the number of those, and then your perceived physical health. So how many good health days and bad health days did you have? So taking out the mental piece, taking out the doctor-assessed physical health, just how you're feeling about yourself. And we found that the more adverse childhood experiences you had, the more bad health days you had. And that was using a large CDC database called the Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System. That is a study that looks at lots of different things, but one of the modules that different states pulse in and out is an adverse childhood experiences scale. The second piece of research that we did was adverse childhood experiences across birth generations. So we found in that study that the most impacted generations were millennials, Gen Z, and Gen X. And just thinking about the progression, and one of the limitations that we had in that study was the older generations might not think that it's an adverse childhood experience. And I think that, to me, is key to healing from ACEs, is, like Cindy said, recognizing that it has happened to you. And so that's why I think my research is important. All the practitioners out there are the more important, but laying the groundwork to say, yes, these things are connected. And I'll end with my last piece that I'm going to talk about later, adverse childhood experiences in adult nutrition. That was my dissertation, and it's currently in press with the American Psychological Association. Yes. So looking at your number of adverse childhood experiences, and then does it impact your later nutrition habits? There's been some work done on this, but I didn't love the nutrition exercises that they did. So my study created a whole nutrition surveillance, and again showed that the more adverse childhood experiences you have, the worse you eat as an adult. Not even taking into consideration, we controlled for income and education, because we know both of those can be impacted by early trauma.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and congratulations on that. So I'm going to pivot over to this side and go ahead and ask Ketia, how has your personal background and cultural identity influenced the way you approach ACEs and resilience?
Thank you. So first off, I want to say I am Haitian-American. And I grew up in that household. And so when I was younger, mental health wasn't talked about at all. I didn't know nothing about ACEs. I didn't know nothing about resilience. All I knew about was just being strong and just pushing through. And when you look at being strong and resilience, those things are two different meanings. Strong is like pushing through like any like difficult situation, but being resilient is like you're facing a difficult situation, you're being knocked down, but you're able to get back up and keep on moving. So yeah, I didn't know about it then, but now that I'm a social worker, I've learned about a lot of like ACEs, a lot of things in my household that was like traumatic, or how my parents interacted with each other, or any like witness any abuse or things like that. I now seen that like, wow, that affected my life. Like I know why I act the way I act, or how I communicate because of those things. And like even now, I would say I am resilient. And there's one point in my life where I said I was always strong. But one day I told myself I am not strong. I didn't want to be strong anymore. I wanted to say I'm not okay. I need help. I need healing. I need somebody to help me from drowning. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Ooh, what I felt in that was the I am resilience. Like I love the I am affirmations. If you are resilient, join me in saying, I am resilient.
I am resilient.
Awesome. Thank you. So next we have Miss Lisette. How do you balance addressing ACEs within nonprofit leadership while also caring for your own mental health?
Thank you, Cassandra. Very good question. As leader in the nonprofit organization, it's important that we recognize our limitations first. You see how when you're traveling in an airplane, right, and they teaching you how to use the mask, they tell you to put your mask on first before you put it to your neighbor, because you have to take care of yourself first in order to help others. If you don't do that, then you're not going to be able to be there to help other people. So you have to make sure as leaders that you know your limitations, set clear, strong boundaries between your self-care, between your work, the work that you do. Take the vacation time, go out for a walk, go camping, whatever it is that you like to do for self-care, do it. A lot of leaders, and I worked with many leaders, work 12, 14 hours days and they think they are very successful. But guess what? They don't have fun. They don't enjoy. And burnout comes really, really quick. So you have to be intentional about taking that self-care, about taking that time off, about setting those strong boundaries between your job and your personal life so that you'll be able to take care of your mental health as well and continue to help the community the way we do.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Okay, we're going to swing back this way. Mr. Isu. So my question to you is, how have you seen sports and community engagement serve as a powerful antidote to ACEs?
Especially in this era of sports, athletes are more transparent about their mental wellness, less apprehensive about using their platforms to advocate. Cindy and I share a passion for tennis. And this is why I root for Naomi so much, because she's so transparent about where she is at all times. But she's not the only one. The reality is the younger generation, in many ways, so I'm an ex. So the younger generation, in many ways, have pushed the conversation to the forefront, and they've done that on all levels, including sports. But also, I will tell you that at this point, just about every professional team has a performance person on their staff that looks at and approaches the relationships with the athletes in a holistic way. And so the term that we use now is the whole athlete. And I think that is an evolution because, as Tabitha alluded to, previous generations were not as open about accepting the fact that they have that we have ACEs, talking about it, getting help for it. And I think the last thing I'll say is I think in some ways, part of the reason why the younger generations have been so successful at moving this dialogue forward is because they have been the victims of the trauma that we've downloaded, the baggage that we've downloaded onto them. And because the world is smaller as a result of social media and technology, they've been able to realize that this is wrong. And I can say that it's wrong. So I know for me personally, it is, as Jay-Z said, this shift starts with us. To break these generational curses, this shift starts with us. And we're seeing that and doing that in sports, I think. Still have a long way to go, by the way. But again, I just appreciate where we are at this point.
Thank you for that. Thanks for that insight.
I'm going to ask you, Darius. We're going to stay over here to our left. And by the way, he said shift with an F. I know we're at the church. I just want to make that happen. To Isu's point, when I teach, I tell people I'm here to update our BS, our belief systems. I don't know what you was thinking, but I was thinking belief systems. Hey, Darius.
What's up, fam?
If you don't have friends that take PTO for you, get rid of them. You need everybody need friends on their list that will take a day off for them, and that's one of ours right there. So, hey. So, Darius, thank you. I got a question for you. So, you're somebody that is experienced in being a community connector. What practical ways can other individuals become bridges of healing in their local environments?
Okay, bridges of healing. Practical ways. I will say if you're not already providing those connections, If you don't feel like you are, more than likely you already are because you're here. 9 o'clock Saturday morning, so you're probably doing more than you think you are. The next step I would say is just be intentional, right? Don't look for what do I get out of this connection. It's too much brain power in thinking about that, and you're probably going to be wrong on what's going to come out of it. So I would just say always listen to what people are asking for and what they need and what they're looking for, and just keep that little running index in your mind about how can I help this person and who can use this person's help. So if you're just intentional about the relationships and how they fit together in that puzzle, be good to go.
Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Sam, you better get ready because I'm coming over to my right. You ready? You ready, Sam?
For you always.
Our relationship is so unique. So Sam, with everything that you do with all of your businesses, I'm thinking more specifically from a creative perspective. Why is it important, I need yours, why is it important for businesses and leaders to invest in healing-focused community initiatives? And then the second part to that is, how can art, design, and even storytelling amplify the message of resilience? Does that make sense? Two-part question?
It does, and I'm going to segue a little. So I appreciate the question, and the importance of it is evidenced by this room. So what I do know is this. For the longest time, I used to think that storytelling was reserved for movies. And I never learned that the word spelling means that we cast a spell with our words. From a business capacity, being an expert in marketing, branding, printing, all these things that I don't know what they mean, really. It just means that I found something I loved and I've been doing it for 25 years. But I forgot who I was in those 25 years. So I started to love an inanimate object, which was my career, more than myself. And I find that it's absolutely mandatory to find yourself in spaces like this, which invite you back inward. When we show up in service, it's not servantship in the sense that you're self-sacrificing. It's that it fills you up just as much, if not greater. And from a creative space, I will tell you with abundant clarity that I don't know what found who, but comedy found me. And comedy saved my life. And comedy's the reason I'm sitting here. And life is really serious. And it's hysterical. Because you're like, who the hell did you just see that? And then I thought, how am I going to be the youngest of four? I'm Lebanese. My family immigrated from West Africa. These people don't know what assimilate means. I'll just leave it there. And I thought, you think I'm not going to talk about you guys? But comedy invited me in. And so I'll close it with meeting people where we are, asking what happened. And sometimes we come up and we think we're a subject matter expert. But sometimes you can also be the subject. And you get to keep learning. So I creatively invite you to keep learning, to experiment with maybe the non-traditional. Comedy healing has fundamentally healed me.
Round of applause for everybody. We wanted to teach you and give you some hors d'oeuvres of like what it's like to hear from people who are walking through this story, been through the story. I'm going to ask you, if you have a booklet in front of you, to turn to page 12, handwritten by my lovely friend Carmita Kelly. It should say neuron nourishment at the top, page 12. 13. Let me know when you got there. It might be 13 for some of you or 12 for others. But it should have the neuron element sign, neuron nourishment on it. Let me know, amen, when you're there. This does feel like church. Everybody turn to scripture. Church, right? Y'all there? Humans have, according to some research, 12 to 16,000 thoughts per day. Can y'all imagine that? Higher or lower for some of y'all? Higher. Higher if you got ACEs. It's way higher than that, okay? What's interesting about this research, because our brain is always like doing stuff, right? It just stays on, right? What's interesting about this research, followed up by that, was Harvard saying that 47% of the time we check out. Like, you can be in a full conversation, that person then teleported somewhere, and you don't even know they're gone, right? So what you're experiencing today with this summit is a prototype of what we want to do every year until we get it polished so well, right? You won't even notice any kinks. So the panel conversation was just to give you a snippet of what's ahead of you. Without these people having to give you the whole backstory, we want to acknowledge that our brains are sensitive to sitting too long. Our brains are sensitive to having to be forced to pay attention too long. And it's nothing wrong with us, because Harvard said we check out 47% of the time. So we don't want that to happen to you guys. So we are going to get on with the rest of the show, because we have a phenomenal keynote production coming up before we move to go to our workshops. But we're going to close this out. We're going to do another quick round of applause for our panelists, and thank you all for giving us a part of your mornings. While we get off the stage, I'm going to ask if you can have a relationship with your workbook. We're going to move this couch, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Darius, who's going to introduce our keynote presenters, and our keynote presenters are going to come up. So have a relationship with your workbook if you're an introvert. If you're not, have a conversation with somebody at your table. Fair enough? Okay. So y'all do that. Give us 2 minutes, and we're going to switch up. Thank you. Thank you.